There we go. Well, good evening and welcome to the Mellow Financial Live. Live on YouTube and live on TikTok. So feel free to hit us up with any questions you wish because we are here to help. We're here to answer the questions and we'll see what comes in. And we shall answer them to the best of your abilities, of course, as always. But yes, let's just get this set up a little bit here so I can actually see what's going on. Let's pop this over here. Let's get this here. There we go. We can see the questions as they come in. So, yeah, let's get cracking. So, yeah, here we are for the next. What are we going to say? 45 minutes, maybe? Yeah, 45-minute live, quick one. Just to answer any questions, help you out on this mortgage journey. We're getting quite a lot of right to buy applications and inquiries at the moment because, of course, the deadline to get your application in for right to buy is the 21st, which is Thursday. Yeah, today's the 19th. So, yeah, we're getting quite a few inquiries in about that. Also, we're getting a lot of inquiries in from people who are looking to complete prior to the 1st of April next year before the stamp duty thresholds change. So that's something else we're getting a lot of work in for. So yeah, and also I mean, couple that with rates increasing, it's no sort of holiday at the moment. It is a tricky time, certainly. So if you're sitting on an offer or you're considering your options, it's certainly wise to act quickly before they go up any more, because certainly over the past 2 weeks we've been seeing rates go up. Big lenders such as Nationwide, Barclays, NatWest, HSBC have all put their rates up. We've not had anything from Halifax though. So that's one that I've been kind of waiting. I've just been expecting the email from them, to be honest, but nothing's come in. So whether they're going to hold fire and just stay firm on their rates, I don't know. But certainly nothing from them yet. And I would have thought it would have been by now. But you know what's going to happen. I've spoken too soon, haven't I? So we shall see what happens. But of course, as long as you're following, you will know as soon as I know, assuming I'm not busy at that point. Once if that email comes through from Halifax with regards to rate increases, I will let you know. But do feel free to ask a question. Do feel free to follow. That's always greatly appreciated. And likes are also massively appreciated. So we've got first question in. Can we get a buy-to-let mortgage for a few years and then change it to residential? Yeah. So it's just a case of remortgaging onto a residential product. So, sorry, if you buy it and buy to let to start with, then yeah, absolutely, you won't have any problems switching it to a residential down the line. You, of course, won't be able to rent it out when it's on a residential mortgage. Likewise, you won't be able to live in it when it's on a buy to let mortgage. But you can certainly change between the two, be that by remortgaging and just change your product. It's probably easier to do it from the buy to let to the residential that way round because you'll already have the equity in there to be able to do it. If I port my mortgage and lend more, do I keep my current interest rate? You will keep your interest rate on the portion that you are porting. Any additional borrowing will be on today's rates. And you'll then end up with two subparts on your mortgage, which can cause some issues, particularly when you come to remortgaging, because they might be out of sync in terms of the dates that they expire on. So just bear that in mind. But no, porting, you keep your rate, you don't pay any early repayment charges, and any additional borrowing is done on today's rates. Would a mortgage get declined after valuation new build or be declined before it reaches that? It can fail the valuation. They can downvalue it or say, look, it's not worth it, and therefore it doesn't stack up, so it could be declined. So, I mean, valuation is still a part of the essential underwriting of a mortgage application. So you can't bank anything until it's actually offered. Until then, anything can change it. And even after it's been offered, they can potentially rescind that offer if, for example, you have gone and got loads of stuff on credit. You've racked up credit cards. Therefore, it's a different application to what was on the application form. Hi, I've been in work for 5 months. Would a mortgage be hard to get? No, if you've been in work 5 months, you've certainly got 3 months' pay slips to be able to prove your income. I'm making the assumption that that's in sort of full-time employed work, not on any sort of temporary contract or anything. Yeah, 5 months. There may be one or two lenders who may want you to have had 6 months or maybe even more. They may ask what you were doing prior to that, but 5 months you should be fine. Dee, dee, dee. I'm getting part questions here. Yes, full time. Okay, getting some part questions. So do forgive me if I miss your question, um, but certainly do ask it again if I've missed it. If you do want to get in touch and have a one-on-one chat, then feel free to do so. You can send us a message by DM, by private message on TikTok, or you can, as it says up there, send us an email. Do right to buy mortgage differ? They don't differ. They are specific products from certain lenders. Not every lender will do right to buy mortgages, but they're just a certain product in their own right. They still need the income to be able to assess the affordability. One of the key differences, some lenders will allow the discount to act as the full deposit. Some might want you to add a little bit yourself, but generally, it's just a normal mortgage. Can I transfer my rate of 1.75 onto a new house if it ends next August? Yes, as long as your product allows what's called porting, then you will be able to retain that rate and port the mortgage over to the new property. It does. I mean, it sounds really simple, but it does involve assessment and sort of an application. But if that all passes, then yeah, you can transfer your rate over and avoid paying the early repayment charges. How can I contact you? So up there, so you can send an email to hello@Mellow Financial, or there is a link in the TikTok bio where you can just book a call straight into the diary. Do lenders normally agree switching to a buy-to-let mortgage? Why would they ever reject? As long as you've got the equity or deposit and all, then it should stack up because buy to let affordability is largely worked out on the rental income. Your tax band comes into it as well, but as long as it all stacks up, there's no reason to decline it. Can a mortgage provider withdraw a mortgage offer before completion? Yes, they can. So mortgage providers will do further credit checks after the offer, maybe in the final weeks prior to completion, because they want to make sure that the application is in the same state it was when it was actually submitted. So if you've gone out and got a Ferrari on finance, or you've put a load of really expensive furniture on finance, then you've got credit commitments that weren't there to start with. So that's going to affect your affordability. If the numbers don't stack up, the offer's not going to work, so they can rescind it. Is there any chance I could transfer my buy to let to a limited company? It's okay. So yeah, in simplistic terms, you view it as a transfer, but actually, what's going to happen is your limited company is going to buy it off you. So therefore, it's going to need to get the funding, the mortgage to buy it. What happens with a 25% deposit? There's a stamp duty to pay, all that kind of stuff. It's not just a case of transferring it. I would definitely get some tax advice from an accountant or a tax advisor before actually deciding what you're going to do, because although it does sound simple, it's a bit complex. What are the signs that a mortgage is about to be accepted? My broker is useless at updates. There aren't any signs. Literally, once you submit everything, it goes into underwriting, and that takes as long as it takes. Normally, a couple of weeks, and then you'll just get an email to say the offer has been accepted. Here's your mortgage offer. There aren't any sort of signs that will lead up to it. Are there any lenders that offer fixed principal payments throughout the whole mortgage? There are lenders that will give you a 40-year fixed rate, for example, 30-year, 40-year. So yeah, you can fix your rate, certainly. Santander have booked in a valuation in 2 weeks' time. Seems long. It depends. If they're doing an in-person valuation, they've got to get access to the property, haven't they? So maybe that's the earliest that they could get access to it. Is it usually 4 times your salary, or can you get more? Well, the general rule is 4.5 times your salary, but depending on your circumstances, some lenders will do 5.5, sometimes even 6 times. So general rule of thumb, 4.5, but yeah, you might be able to get more. Mortgages are for rich people, not for hard-working people anymore. Thanks, Adrian. Still able to apply council house on universal credit? You can do, but the housing element of the universal credit won't be taken into account. Some lenders may want other income, maybe a working income, and use the benefits as well. But there may be a couple that would do it solely on universal credit. Are there any lenders which accept accounting projections? Yes, there are, but it needs to be from an accountant. So it needs to be an accountant's projection. They need to be certified accountant. But yeah, there are lenders that would do it. Self-employed people have no chance of getting a mortgage. Adrian, they've got just as good a chance as anyone else. You changed your mic. You sound different. I'm on a normal microphone. That could be why. Does it sound better or worse? Hopefully it sounds better because it's a proper microphone rather than the one just being pulled off the iPad. Abby. Yeah, Adrian's cheerful, isn't he? For buy-to-let mortgages, do you have to rent it until the mortgage is repaid? Oh, that's a good question. Well, you have to make the payments until it's repaid, and quite often the rent is what covers that payment. If you're happy to pay it out of your own pocket, then yeah, but you're not going to be able to live in it, so the place is just going to have to be empty, I suppose. It's echoey, is it? Oh no, I don't know why it does that. Let me check. 1 second. Is it? Oh, that's really annoying. I don't know why it does it. What if I turn it down a bit? How's that? Does that make any difference? Better. Nice. Okay, good stuff. There we go. Sorry, a slight adjustment of the mic. Well, thank you for telling me. Appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully that adjustment will help. 6 years I've been living in council. Should I buy my 2-bedroom house? I'm on a council list, send child. Um, if you want to buy your council house, you've only got until the 21st of November to get your application in to secure the current maximum discounts before they reduce. Can I buy a house at a cheaper price from a relative? You can. So if you buy a property from a relative and they agree to sell you it at a reduced price, that is called a concessionary purchase. And the difference you pay from what you're paying for it and the market value can be classed as a deposit. So it might be a way of buying a property without actually having to put any deposit down. Some lenders might want a bit of money from you as well, but it's certainly an option. Can I still get a mortgage if I have CCJs? Yes, you can. So we're a whole of market broker, so we have access to all lenders in the market that we can. So yeah, we've got a whole range of lender criteria, acceptance criteria, ranging from CCJs, default, debt management plans, all that kind of stuff. 6 years into a 5-year fix and want to move, wise or not? No, really not wise. This is why your mortgage advisor should have asked you what your plans are before putting you on a 5-year fix. If someone came to me, excuse me, and said that they are going to look to move within 2 years, we're not going to put on a 5-year fix. That's just madness. What can I get on 40k deposit, 80k joint? So the deposit isn't necessary, and I can't give you an accurate figure, I'm afraid, because it's based on a multiplication of your income, and then you take off your general cost of living, committed expenditure, all that kind of stuff. With 80k, you could potentially times it by 5, but then you've got to deduct things. So get in touch with the broker and get it properly assessed. If I work cash in hand PT and my partner works full time, but I'm putting a deposit, would it be acceptable? You're going to have to prove where that deposit has come from, and cash is not a good enough answer. What does it depend on how many times your salary you've got? How much you earn, whether you're a first time buyer, whether you're a professional, quite a few things. What's the mortgage rate today? There's no such thing. Is overpaying worth it? I'm 2 years in a 35-year 300k 200. Yeah, absolutely. So I can only answer that from a mortgage perspective. If you've got spare cash, it might be worth speaking to an IFA to see if there's anything better to do with your money. But from a mortgage perspective, overpaying absolutely is worth it, because when you make an overpayment, 9 times out of 10 it comes off the capital balance, so you're not paying off interest with it. And mortgages generally calculate their interest on a daily basis. So if you made an overpayment today, the balance on which interest is charged tomorrow is going to be less. So you will save yourself a lot of interest. And also by making overpayments, when it comes to remortgage time at the end of your deal, you would have cleared more of the balance than if you just let it run its natural course with the repayments. So therefore, you're potentially remortgaging in a lower loan to value bracket, which will get you a better rate next time round. So yeah, overpayments absolutely are worth it. My fixed is over at the end of December. So if I was to clear the balance, would I have to pay a charge? Pay it once your fixed term is up. If you pay it before that, and you may well have a charge. You need to look at your documentation to see when the chargeable period is up. There'll be a date as to which the early repayment charge no longer applies. So have a look at that and then go from there. What is modern method of auction mean? It's just a way of purchasing a property at auction. We don't do auction work, so it's far too much hassle and it's worth. Would my partner and I qualify for a 5% mortgage earning 66K together, 12% deposit? Yeah, anyone can. As long as you've got a good credit history, you stand a good chance of being accepted for a 95% mortgage. Can I get a mortgage with poor credit? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Poor credit doesn't tell us what we need to know, though. We need to know the specifics. What's behind that poor credit? What is it? Because then we can match you with a lender who has that as their acceptance. We are planning on moving next year. Current fixed rate ends in April. Wait for move or renew port. In most instances, you probably look to port because you would then avoid paying the early repayment charge. But it all depends how long it's going to take. So you're looking to move next year. So it's going to end in April. There may be other options. There may be other options that you can do. You might be able to renew onto a suitable deal that's going to allow you to move with no early repayment charges. So I would definitely speak to a mortgage broker, mortgage advisor, exactly the same thing, to come up with a strategy for that. What's my personal opinion on shared ownership? So shared ownership. There's horror stories out there, but what I would say to people is do look into it quite heavily. Do the research on it. Of course, there's places in a country where house prices are so high that shared ownership really is the only option available to people looking to buy. There's three main costs you need to be aware of and look into with shared ownership: your mortgage payment, your rent payment, and your service charge. Now, the rent payment is paid to the housing association. The service charge is paid to the service company. Service charge tends to go up and up and up every year, and it really catches people out. The rent can go up as well. So with the rent and the service charge, there's not a lot you can really do about it. Mortgages, I mean, you can shop around to a point, but you're still at the mercy of the rates and things. But service charge, yeah, definitely have a look at that one and see what it does. You also need to make sure that you can do staircasing. So buy more of the property as time goes on, if that's what you want to do. Now, you need to discuss with a mortgage broker what your strategy is for shared ownership. Is it a stepping stone? So are you going to live there for a bit and then sell it? Or are you going to live there forever and buy more and more and more? Because there's different ways of doing things that you might want to consider if you're looking at shared ownership. Selling it, I've heard, can also be an issue because you've got to sell it through the shared ownership scheme. But it just comes down to doing a lot of research, speaking to a lot of people, including mortgage advisors. How much does solicitors cost on average? So it's largely on purchase price. Are they doing the sale? Are they doing the purchase? On a lot of the first time buyers we've been working with, it's been coming out at about £1,400 to £1,800 on the solicitors. You're then going to have to put your stamp duty on top if it's applicable. Is it difficult to get a mortgage if you're self-employed? It's no more difficult than if you are employed. The only difference is how we prove your income. So if you're employed, you just provide your pay slips and that's good. If you're self-employed, we need to see your annual accounts. Now you can do it with 1 year's lot of accounts, but your lender choice is limited. 2 or more years, the better. But yeah, it just needs your annual accounts. But I wouldn't say it's harder. And there's lenders that will take salary and dividends or salary and share of net retained profits. Also depends how you're set up as self-employed. Are you a limited company? Are you a sole trader? Get in touch with the mortgage broker and get it all checked out. I got Help to Buy equity loan. What's the best way to pay it off? So I think when the Help to Buy equity loan scheme was originally devised, the thinking was that at the end of the initial 5-year period, when you're not paying anything, you would your house would have increased in value. You may have had pay rises or got a new job that pays more, and therefore you would have been able to remortgage and borrow the extra to clear off the Help to Buy loan. That's still a viable way of doing it. If you're going to do that, you need to pay for the house to be valued by a RICS surveyor, RICS. You then need to send that report to the Help to Buy people, pay their admin fee, and they will tell you how much they want back. You then tell that to your mortgage advisor, do the sums, see if you can afford the extra borrowing, and then put it in and get it all handled and cleared off. The other alternative is you do nothing and leave it there, but then you start paying the interest. And that goes up in increments as well. So have a look at the paperwork if that's something you're planning to do. Be aware that not every lender allows you to remortgage to them if you still have the Help to Buy equity loan in place. So if you're looking to keep it, just bear that in mind. Is 36k income yearly enough for a mortgage? Yeah, so mortgages are just based on your annual income. So how much you can borrow is a multiple of your annual income. Now, whether that equates to enough for the amount of borrowing you need where you are is another question. But yeah, you certainly can get a mortgage on 36k. I'm debating between 30 or a 35-year term. The difference is about £50 in monthly repayments. Okay, so we need to, if you are our client, we'd be discussing the pros and cons with you, coming up with a strategy about what you're looking to do. If you took it over the longer term, would there be additional funds available to perhaps make overpayments and therefore bring the term down as you go on? It's certainly something that's worth discussing with your mortgage broker, mortgage advisor, exactly the same thing. Is buying leasehold bad compared to freehold? I mean, when you buy leasehold, there's other considerations that come into it, such as ground rent and service charge. But also, that lease does decrease it goes down in a number of years. You might buy a house with a 999-year lease, and so you're not going to have to worry about it. But if you bought a property, say a flat, with, I don't know, a 100-year lease on it, you live there for 20 years, it's only got an 80-year lease on it. The more that lease runs out, the less valuable that property becomes. You can pay to renew the lease, but that's often very expensive. Do you think it's worth waiting to buy? Torn between rent and buy in a very expensive area. Do you know what? House prices in this country generally only go one way. Yes, there are ups and downs along the route, but generally there is only one way they go. So the longer you wait, the potentially more expensive it becomes. However, if you take the leap and jump on a housing ladder now, if the house prices increase, then you start benefiting from those increases sooner. It just comes down to whether you want to keep paying someone else's rent or you want to get on the housing ladder and buy it yourself. No one can answer that question for you. Only you can answer if it's the right time to buy, because it's very much down to you and your personal situation. Can you afford to buy now? Are you ready to buy? Have you got a deposit? Are you motivated to buy? Is there something that's maybe you don't want to live with mum and dad anymore? Or maybe your landlord's selling up and it's just made you think about it? Only you can really answer the question if it's the right time to buy. I live in council house with my family, but I need a bigger house, like 3 or 4 bedroom mortgage. Okay, so as long as you've got income and you've got a deposit, then you can have a look to get a mortgage. With business accounts projections, does it largely narrow down lenders? Yes, it will. So not every lender will go off lender account and projections. How do you best utilize equity in your property to buy a new property? Now, are you talking about buying your next residential property, or are you talking about buying an additional property? Two different ways of looking at it. If you're looking to buy, say, an investment buy-to-let property, then you'd need to release the equity in your property by additional borrowing to release enough to pay for a deposit on the buy-to-let and maybe some stamp duty on all the fees. If you're looking to sell and move to a new property, whatever equity you've got in that property, you can use it in whatever way you wish in terms of deposit, paying fees, paying off debts. So it's just how much you're willing to put down on deposit for the next one. If you have defaults on your credit file, how likely is it to secure a mortgage from a high street building society? Not very likely. They are quite strict when it comes to defaults and CCJs. You need to speak to a mortgage broker and we will match you with the most appropriate lender. It's certainly if you've got defaults or credit issues on the credit file. What do you think about zero deposit mortgages? They exist for a purpose, and if you want to make use of one, that's fine. You just got to be aware there is a heightened risk of negative equity if you are looking to move relatively soon after buying it, or that kind of thing. You can't do it on a new build because chances are that will decrease in value straight away. But it solves an issue that some people face. Let's take the Skipton track record mortgage as a prime example. That is specifically designed for people who are paying high rents and are unable to save for a deposit. They then use the rents that they pay as evidence of affordability, so then they lend the 100%. Gets them into a property, they know they can afford the repayments, it's on a repayment basis, it's fixed for 5 years, so hopefully after that 5-year term, they might be down to, I don't know, 97, 96% loan to value. So it's just a case of getting on the housing ladder, and it really does help people in certain situations. If I pay taxes at end of the year, can I get a buy-to-let mortgage? Paying tax at the end of the year has nothing to do with getting a buy-to-let mortgage. You need deposit and rental income. Is it worth renovating a cheap house instead of buying a home for 180,000? What's that got to do with mortgages? I don't know. It's totally down to you. No one can answer that. It's down to you and what you want to do, your personal appetite for a project, or move into something quite nice and ready. Do you think having two mortgages for two different properties with the same lender is okay? As long as you can afford it, it shouldn't be an issue. I'd like to buy the freehold of my flat. It's a shop below. Will the mortgage be different? If it's a commercial premises below, you're going to struggle. Potentially, you're going to be limited with lender choices because it's going to be a part commercial, part personal. What are the benefits of using a broker? We have access to all the rates in the market. If you go to a bank, they will only offer you their products and their rates. You might just have a choice between a 2-year fix and a 5-year fix. Here's the rate for that one, here's the rate for that one. If you go to a broker, we've got a range of products from across all the lenders for totally different circumstances amongst you, and we will find the ultimate best solution for you. We also do all the work for you, so you haven't got to waste your time doing research, looking at lenders' criteria, making sure you're applying to the right lender, answering questions from the underwriter, uploading all the documents, liaising with the solicitor, the estate agent, all that kind of thing. So actually, using a broker is quite positive because we do quite a lot. Can you get extra money on top of your mortgage if you're buying a doer-upper? They're not going to lend you more than the product allows. So if you're on a 10% deposit, you're going to be on 90% product. They're not going to lend you more than 90%. So not really is the answer to that. Do you think the mortgage rates will drop over the next 2 years? Can't tell you. Really can't tell you. That's a crystal ball job. I was going to apply saying you do all the hard work for people. Abby's got living proof we do all the hard work for people. What does it cost to use a broker? It varies. I'd probably say the average is about £500. However, we charge £349 when we get your formal mortgage offer. Some are free, but I always say you get what you pay for. And they may operate off a slightly different business model, which involves them having to take on more cases to churn them through. So yeah, be cautious. What's the best rate today? The best rate for your situation. Have you noticed people buying in certain areas more? No. It's a bit of a weird time. So this time of year, November, December, tends to go very quiet. But this time around, we've got two things that are kind of bringing people or keeping people active. The reduction in the right to buy discounts, which is happening. You've got to get your applications in the next couple of days. But also the changes in the stamp duty threshold. So people are trying to buy and complete before the 1st of April next year to beat the change in those thresholds. So yeah, we're still really busy. Someone bought my flat today. He's a first-time buyer. How long is mortgage roughly take? I don't know. He's not my client, I'm afraid. I can't answer that. Is new build house better than older house? Again, it's your personal preference. Depends what you want to buy. I'm sat in a new build. It's absolutely fine. So it's perfect for our needs and our circumstances. If you have another property in a different country, EU, can I still qualify as first time buyer in the UK? No. I'm due to remortgage in January and have a missed payment. What does this mean for us? It means, what's your missed payment on, to start with? If it's on the mortgage, that's really not good news. If it's on something minor, it might not be the end of the world. You might be slightly limited in lender choice, but certainly get in touch. You're leaving it a bit late. You could have sorted it out a couple of months ago and secured a much lower rate than you would today or even next week. So I would get onto that quickly and sort it now before rates increase anymore. If they go down, your broker can move you on to the lower rate. But if they go up, you'll have your rate locked in. You'll be protected from it as long as you do it now. You leave it much longer, rates will keep going up, I think. Is 799 expenses for a mortgage fee and paid up front on full application rather than split? Are you talking about the mortgage product fee or a broker fee? Mortgage broker fee. Sounds expensive to me. I wouldn't pay more than 500. I've heard of some people charging like £1,000, couple of £1,000. Absolute rip off. Don't pay more than 500. 799 is too expensive. If you are trying to buy a rent to buy property, can you use a discount for deposit? No, your broker was 600. Yeah, maybe slightly on the pricey side. Next year, if my sibling starts living with me, uni student, would it affect the mortgage? No, not really. As long as you're not charging them rent and running it as like a commercial enterprise, you should be all right. With a bank side eye, a mortgage application if the entire deposit was gifted. Lots of people have the entire deposit gifted. It's not abnormal and there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely fine. I've an IVA and I've only 3 years left and only 4 years left on my mortgage. Right? Okay, IVAs are awful things. People, I think, get hoodwinked into them and don't get told the full facts when they enter into them because they absolutely destroy your credit file for a good number of years. Would you wait to sell? Will a new mortgage be okay? What? Should I do 2 year or 5 year fix? I can't answer that on TikTok, I'm afraid. If you were a client, then of course I'll be able to recommend the best course of action for you. But I know nothing about you and your circumstances, I'm afraid, and we can't advise on that on TikTok. The FCA are very strict on knowing your client. So we have to know all the ins and outs so we can provide you with the best advice possible. How much need to deposit for buy-to-let around 30k house? 25% generally. 25% buy-to-let deposit. IVA guy, would you wait to sell until IVA over? Yeah, it depends what you want to do after. What is bank rate? 4.75%. Lender Skipton did evaluation a week ago and still not out and still don't have the offer. No, fingers crossed any day now. Fingers crossed. 100k income between two people. How much can you borrow? I can't give you an accurate figure. All I can tell you is you might be able to times that by 5. But then you've got to take your outgoings off it, any committed expenditure, all that kind of stuff. What's your broker fee? Our broker fee is $349, payable when we get you a formal mortgage offer. I'm a British national, husband on a spice visa. He's not. I'm 49. Where did I get that from? I'm a British national. Husband is on a spouse visa. Will you have problems getting a mortgage? Will we have problems? No. As you're the British citizen and his spouse, no, you won't have problems. How much will the total cost be with stamp duty? You need to use a stamp duty calculator. Go online and look at that. I'm seeing half a question now, I think. Want to sell for a bigger home? IVA's 3 year mortgage for is a better way. I've answered that already. I have had sick leave pay for 4 months. Can I still get a mortgage based on my salary? No, because you're not going to be able to prove your salary. I assume your pay slips show sick pay, which is, going to be less. Aren't broker fees paid by a mortgage lender? No, if you charge a broker fee, it's paid by the client. We get paid what's called procuration fees by the lenders at the end of the deal. At a completion, sorry. Over 50s, can you get a mortgage? Yes, you can. Hubby had default on credit score. We cleared it. Now can we get a mortgage? Yes, you can. But it's still going to impact you. It will still be on the credit file for 6 years. So yeah, you can do, but you need to be matched with a lender that's going to accommodate that. Do Irish citizens need anything extra for a mortgage application? So you will need your definite leave to remain, your permanent EU residency thing. You may. Ooh, good question. Irish. I don't know whether you will need to be in the UK 12 months or not. I think you should be right. For self-employed, how long payslip I need to show for mortgage? You don't. It's not payslips when it comes to self-employed. It's annual accounts and tax returns. So you need at least 1 year's accounts and tax returns. And even then, if you're only using 1 year's, you are limited in lender choice. Ideally, you need 2 or more. Do you need to earn 25k for a buy-to-let mortgage? Currently unemployed. So how can I get? So if you're a first-time buyer, first-time landlord, it's more likely going to be assessed on your personal situation. So if you've got no income, it's not really going to stack up. You need a 25% deposit as well. Can you tell me about right to acquire? Can I buy on benefits? What's the difference to right to buy? So right to acquire is when you buy from a housing association. Right to buy is when you buy from the council. You can buy on benefits, but it just depends on the lender whether they want any additional employed income to go with it. But yeah, it all needs to be checked. Past initial checks with hard searches, valuation tomorrow. Will underwriters still do more checks? Potentially. It depends what lender it is and what their process is. You've got to wait for what the valuation says as well, what the outcome of that is, if there's any comments on it. So yeah, it just depends on lender as to where you're at the process. Will I have a problem if one buyer has 11 months visa left? Potentially, yes. 2 late payments a year ago. Yeah, you should be fine. Again, you're going to have to go through mortgage broker to make sure you get the best result. Just booked a call. Nice one. She'll speak to you soon. I don't know whether it's me it's booked in with or one of their other advisors, but someone will speak to you soon. 5 times my income or self-employed for mortgage? Unlikely. Can I get a mortgage on a debt management plan? No missed payments and employed? Yeah, so if you're on a debt management plan and you've been on it for at least 12 months and you've kept up all the repayments, there are options out there of lenders that will do it. What happens if your job changes after mortgage offer? Well, the offer could be rescinded. I keep saying there is a golden rule that once you've had your mortgage offer, do not do anything that's going to jeopardize it. That could include changing jobs, getting things on credit, on finance, maxing the credit cards out. If your lender wants you to have been in your job for a certain period of time, then that's potentially going to screw it up. If your lender isn't happy for you to be on a probation period, that's going to potentially screw it up. So just don't do it. My boyfriend may be made redundant, though, which means job loss. So that's going to be a fundamental change on the application anyway. So it's going to have to be declared that he's been made redundant because that income is going to dry up and making the sums on the application different. Can self-employed get a mortgage? Absolutely, just the same way as an employed person can. It's just a different way that we prove your income. Can my parents who are on pension from the EU land and have pre-settled status, buy in UK, get a mortgage? Pension, probably not going to be able to borrow much. Is it true that if you use Klarna, it can affect it even if there's never any missed payments? Yeah, there's been something I've seen recently whereby lenders are starting to take a slightly dim view on Klarna. Not massively detrimental, but potentially they might start to view it as irresponsibility with money. If you want to buy something, just save up and buy it rather than get it on the credit and have that on your file. So just be careful, I would say. Certainly don't have any outstanding accounts open when your mortgage is going to complete because that will affect your affordability. But just go easy. How much need to pay for a buy-to-let stamp more from April as compared to now? How much more need to pay for... Well, you've already had an increase in stamp duty for additional property. It went from 3% to 5%. Check my file 752. Is this good and accurate? Credit score is irrelevant. It's the whole content of the credit file. Do you review bank statements and pay slips before you send mortgage application? Absolutely, yes. Yes, so we review pay slips and bank statements prior to even doing any sourcing and research because it often flags up any issues that we need to be aware of and match them with any specific lenders. Can you remove someone from a buy-to-let mortgage and change it from 2 people to 1? If so, how? Potentially, but it's all going to be assessed in the affordability. You need to contact the lender to do that. 75k earnings combined. God, I can't seem to please people with the microphone. Let's do that. Does that make any difference? Hopefully that's a bit louder. Any difference there? Hopefully I've turned that up a little bit. Right, let's try that. Hopefully that's a bit better. Echoey again. Oh, for God's sake. I can't win. Let's just have a look at these settings. Bear with people. Let's see if we can sort this out. So, audio input capture. Should we turn that up? Is that echoey again? Loud enough from before, was it? Is it echoey now? Is it echoey and loud enough now? Yeah, that's true. Maybe I should have thought about that. Maybe they should turn their volume up. Yeah, it's not my problem. Turn your volume up. Crikey. Turn your volume up if it's quiet. I've probably missed a load of questions there now, messing about with that. I'm 21 with debt of 1,500 but paying off now. How will this affect my future mortgage chances? So it just affects your affordability. If you've got outstanding debts, be that credit cards, loans, cars on finance, it just affects your affordability because they're what we call committed expenditures. The money you have to pay on a loan is committed every single month. Therefore, it can't be used to pay a mortgage repayment. So you just borrow less. When you say assess by full credit file, what does that mean? We assess a full credit file. So we look at your credit history for the past 6 years and assess it for any issues. 75k incomes combined, 10% deposit, 312 house. Is there any chance of self-employed? I don't know. It depends what your figures say, what your accounts show. I'm a young widow, i.e. on my own. Is it safer to rent or buy? Two ways of looking at it. Are we talking about safety of having a roof over your head or safety in terms of financially? Because if you can afford a mortgage, it should be relatively safe. And also, you're not going to get kicked out. It's your house. So I'd probably say it's safer to buy if you can. Where are we based? I'm in Bristol, but we've got brokers in Chesham, Salisbury, Sheffield, Northwest London. But we do everything remotely anyway. So... opinions on Millennium Legal Solicitors. Don't know about them. Never used them. We don't use them. I have fixed rate for 5 years, then it increases by almost double. How do I avoid doing that? So it does, right. So you've got a fixed rate for 5 years. What happens after that fixed rate? If you do nothing, you go onto the lender's standard variable rate. The idea is you act at the end of the fixed term to either remortgage, do a product transfer to move to a new product, or sell the house and pay it off. Which bank has the strictest underwriters? There's no such thing that exists. They all underwrite in their own way. They all have their own criteria and they all stick to their criteria. So there isn't such thing as a strict underwriter. They're just adhering to the criteria of the lender. That's why you use a broker, because if you have an issue that we need to deal with, then we put you with the most appropriate lender who's open to that as their criteria. Can I buy a council house if Universal Credit and Pulse and working, can it buy? Don't understand what the question is. What's Pulse? Plus and Plus. Oh, Universal Credit Plus and working, can I buy? You should be able to. It's just whether you can afford enough, whether you can get enough borrowing. Sorry, I totally read it wrong. So yeah, you've got Universal Credit plus you're working. So you've got good income. They won't take any housing element of Universal Credit into account now. 2 or 5 year fix right now, I can't answer that because I don't know your situation. What's the chance of buying a house on 30k salary with a 40k savings? I don't know, because it depends how much the house costs. Just depends how much you can borrow. Got my debt 3 years ago and only paying it now. Is it safe to wait for a few years and then try? It depends. What, got your debt 3 years ago and only just started paying it? Don't quite understand the situation. Can I get a mortgage whilst I'm paying back a business loan? You can do, yes. Whether that business loan is actually in your name, though, if it's in a business name, then it's not a personal loan. So, how much do you think I could borrow on 30k salary? I can't tell you because it depends on your situation. Depends whether you're a first-time buyer, whether you're a professional, whether you've got any outgoings, committed expenditure, all that kind of stuff. What's the lowest income to get any mortgage? £1? Because the mortgage you can borrow is a multiplication of your income. So if you earn £1, you could probably borrow £5 or £4.50. So it's just a magnitude of that. Is it possible to take equity out from current buy-to-let to purchase another? Yes, as long as you maintain the 20% equity there, then yeah, you can. That's how a lot of people build their portfolios, that by leveraging their properties to take out the equity to put down as deposit on a new one. Right, I'm going to have to go. I'm really going to have to go now, I'm afraid, because I've got to go and pick up a little lady from the cinema. So, yeah, do feel free to follow. That would be greatly appreciated. And feel free to get in touch if there's anything we can help you with. Send an email or call the number up there. Or if you go to the TikTok bio and profile, there is a link where you can book a call straight into our diaries. So, yeah, do that if you want to have a one-on-one chat. But yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your questions. Hopefully we got there with the microphone in the end. I hope you can hear me all right, and you have been able to hear me. But yeah, I don't know when I'll go live next. It certainly won't be today. But yeah, get in touch if we can help you. First time buyer's guide you can download for free from the website. There is a free check my file report you can download from the TikTok bios, TikTok profile. So go and check us out. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you for your questions, and